Richard the Third. Let's get a glance of Richard the Third before we, Hello, out now. Alright, scene 1, London, before the tower. Who meets us here? My niece Plantagenet, led in the hand of her kind aunt of Gloucester? Now for my life she's wandering to the tower, on pure heart's love, to greet the tender prince's daughter well met. God give you graces both a happy and a joyful time of day. As much to you, good sister, whither away? No further than the tower, and as I guess upon like devotion as yourself, to congratulate the gentle princess here. Kind sister, thanks. We'll enter all together. And in good time, here the lieutenant comes. Master lieutenant, pray you, by your leave, how doth the prince and my young son of York? Right well, dear madam, by your patience. I may not suffer you to visit them. The king hath strictly charged the contrary. The king? Who's that? I mean the Lord Protector. The Lord protect him from that kingly title. Hath he set bounds between their love and me? I am their mother. Who shall bar me from them? I am their father's mother. I will see them. Their aunt I am in law. In love their mother. Then bring me to their sights. I'll bear thy blame, and take thy office from thee on my peril. No, madam, no, I may not leave it so. I am bound by oath, and therefore pardon me. Let me but meet you, ladies, 1 hour hence, and I'll salute your grace of York as mother, and reverend looker-on of 2 fair queens. Come, madam, you must straight to Westminster, there to be crowned Richard's loyal queen. Ah, cut my lace asunder, that my pent heart may have some scope to beat, or else I swoon with this dead-killing news. Despiteful tidings. Oi, unpleasing news. Be of good cheer, mother, how fares your grace? O Dorset, speak not to me, get thee gone. Death and destruction dog thee at the heels. Thy mother's name is ominous to children. If thou wilt outstrip death, go cross the seas, and live with Richmond, from the reach of hell. Go hie thee, from this slaughterhouse, and make me die, the thrall of Margaret's curse, nor mother, wife, nor England's counted queen. Full of wise cares is your counsel, madam. Take all the swift advantage to the hours. You shall have letters from me to my son in your behalf, to meet you on the way, me not saying tardy by unwise delay. Oi, ill-dispersing wind of misery! Oi, my accursed womb, the bed of death, a cockatrice hast thou hatched to this world, whose unavoided eye is murderous. Come, madam, come. I in all haste was sent, and I with all unwillingness will go. Oi, would to God that inclusive verge of golden metal that must round my brow were red-hot steel, so sear me to the brain. Anointed, let me be with deadly venom, and die ere men can say God save the Queen. Go, go, poor soul, I envy not thy glory. To feed my humor, wish thyself no harm. No? Why? When he, that is my husband, now, came to me as I followed Henry's course, when scarce the blood was well washed from his hands, which issued from my other angel husband, and that dead saint which then I weeping followed. Oi, when I say I looked on Richard's face, this was my wish. Be thou, quoth I, accursed, for making so young, so old a widow. And when thou weddest, let sorrow haunt thy bed, and by thy wife, if any be so mad, more miserable by the life of thee than thou hast made me by my dear lord's death. Lo, ere I can repeat this curse again, within so small a time my woman's heart grossly grew captive to his honey words. No, and prove the subject of my own soul's curse, which hitherto hath held mine eyes from rest. For never yet 1 hour in his bed did I enjoy the golden dew of sleep. But with his timorous dreams will still awake, besides he hates me for my father Warwick, and will no doubt shortly be rid of me. Poor heart, adieu, I pity thy complaining. No more than with my soul I mourn for yours. Farewell, thou woeful welcomer of glory. Adieu, poor soul that takest thy leave of it. Go thou to Richmond, and good fortune guide thee. Go thou to Richard, and good angels tend thee. Go thou to sanctuary, and good thoughts possess thee. I to my grave, where peace and rest lie with me. 80 odd years of sorrow have I seen, and each hour is joy racked with a week of teen. Stay yet, look back with me into the tower. Pity, you ancient stones, those tender babes, whom envy hath immured within your walls, rough cradle for such little pretty ones. Rude ragged nurse, old sullen playfellow, for tender princes use my babies well. So foolish sorrow bids your stones farewell. Scene 2. The same, a room of stage in a palace. Stand all apart, cousin of Buckingham. My gracious sovereign, give me thy hand. Thus high by thy advice, and thy assistance is King Richard seated. But shall we wear these glories for a day?
I'm back on station.
Or shall they last, and we rejoice in them? Still live they, and forever let them last. Ah, Buckingham, now do I play the touch, to try if thou be current gold indeed. Young Edward lives. Think now what I would speak. Say on, my loving lord. Why, Buckingham, I say I would be king. Why, so are you, my thrice renowned liege. Ha! Am I king? 'Tis so. But Edward lives. True, noble prince. Oi, little consequence, that Edward still should live. True, noble prince. Cousin, now, waste not wont to be so dull. Shall I be plain? I wish the bastard's dead, and I would have it suddenly performed. What say'st thou now? Speak suddenly, brief. Your grace may do your pleasure. Tut tut, thou art all ice. Thy kindness freezes. Say, have I thy consent that they shall die? Give me some little breath, some pause, dear lord, before I positively speak. I will involve you herein presently. The king is angry. See, he gnaws his lips. Where was I? Hold on. He gnaws his lips. I will converse with iron-witted fools and unrespective boys. None are for me that look unto me with considerate eyes. High-reaching Buckingham grows, circumspect boy. My lord! Knowest thou not any whom corrupting gold, while tempt unto a close exploit of death? I know a discontented gentleman, whose humble means match not his haughty spirit. Gold were as good as 20 orators, and will no doubt tempt him to anything. What is his name? His name, my lord, is Tyrael. I partly know the man. Go, call him hither. The deep revolving, witty Buckingham no more shall be the neighbour to my counsel. Hath he so long held out with me untired, and stops he now for breath? Well, be it so. How now, Lord Stanley? What's the news? No, my loving lord, the Marquis Dorset, as I hear, is fled to Richmond, in the parts where he abides. Come hither, Clayton. Rumor it abroad that Anne, my wife, is very grievous sick. Now, I will take order for her keeping close. Inquire me out some mean poor gentleman, whom I will marry straight to Clarence's daughter. The boy is foolish, and I fear not him. Look how thou dreamest. I say again, get out. That Anne, my queen, is sick and like to die. About it, For it stands me much upon to stop all hopes whose growth may damage me. I must be married to my brother's daughter, or else my kingdom stands on brittle glass. Murder her brothers, and then marry her. Uncertain way of gain, but I am in so far in blood that sin will pluck on sin. Tear-failing pity dwells not in this eye. Is thy name Tyrrell? James Tyrrell, and your most obedient subject. Art thou indeed? Prove me, my gracious lord. Darest thou resolve to kill a friend of mine? Please you, but I had rather kill 2 enemies. Why, then thou hast it, 2 deep enemies, foes to my rest and my sweet sleep's disturbers. Are they that I would have thee deal upon? Tyrrell, I mean those bastards in the tower. Let me have open means to come to them, and soon I'll rid you from the fear of them. Thou singest sweet music. Hark, come hither, Tyrrell. Go by this token. Rise and lend thy ear. There is no more but say. Say it is done, and I will love thee and prefer thee for it. I will dispatch it straight. My lord, I have considered in my mind the latest demand that you did sound me in. Well, let that rest, or set it fled to Richmond. I hear the news, my lord. Stanley is your wife's son. Well, look to it. My lord, I claim to lift my due by promise for which your honor and your faith is pawned. The earldom of Hereford and the movables which you have promised I shall possess. Stanley, look to your wife. If she convey letters to Richmond, you shall answer it. What says your highness to my just request? I do remember me. Henry VI did prophesy that Richmond should be king when Richmond was a little peevish boy. A king! Perhaps, my lord! How chance the prophet could not at that time have told me, I being by, that I should kill him. My lord, your promises for the earldom. Richmond, when last I was at Exeter, the mayor in courtesy showed me the castle and called it Rudemont, at which name I started because a bard of Ireland told me once I should not live long after I saw Richmond. My lord, my, what's the clock? I am thus bold, put your grace in mind, or what you promised me. Well, but what is it? O'clock. Upon the stroke of 10. Well, let it strike. Why, let it strike. Because that's like a jack, thou keepest the stroke betwixt thy begging and my meditation. I am not in the giving vein today. Why then resolve me when your will or no? Thou troublest me. I am not in the vein. And is it thus? Repays he my deep service with such contempt? Made I him king for this? Or let me think on Hastings, and be gone to Brecknock, while my fearful head is on. Scene 3, the same. The tyrannous and bloody act is done. The most arch deed of piteous massacre that ever yet this land was guilty of. Dighton and Forrest, whom I did suborn to do this piece of ruthless butchery. Albeit they were fleshed villains, bloody dogs melting with tenderness and mild compassion, wept like to children in their death, sad story. Oh, thus, quoth Dighton, lay the gentle babes. Thus, quoth Forrest, girdling one another, within their alabaster innocent arms, their lips were 4 red roses on a stalk, which in their summer beauty kissed each other. A book of prayers on their pillow lay, which once quoth Forrest, almost changed my mind, but oi the devil, there the villain stopped, when Dighton thus told on. We smothered the most replenished sweet work of nature, that from the prime creation ere she framed, hence both are gone with conscience and remorse.
Assault rifle here.
They could not speak, and so I left. To bear this tidings to the bloody king, and here he comes. All health, my sovereign lord. Kind Tyrael, am I happy in thy news? No. If you have done the thing you gave in charge beget your happiness, be happy then, for it is done. What is your deal? No. Foul play? No. But didst thou see them dead? I did, my lord, I did. And buried gentle Tyrael? The chaplain of the tower hath buried them, but how or in what place I do not know. Come to me, Tyrael, soon at after supper, when thou shalt tell the process of their death. Meantime but think how I may do these good, and be inheritor of thy desire. Farewell till then. I humbly take my leave. The son of Clarence have I pent up close. His daughter meanly have I matched. In marriage the sons of Edward sleep in Abraham's bosom, and Anne my wife hath bid the world good night. Now for I know the Breton Richmond aims at young Elizabeth, my brother's daughter, and by that knot looks proudly on the crown. To her go I, a jolly, thriving wooer. My lord, good or bad news, that thou comest in so bluntly. Bad news, my lord. Morton is fled to Richmond, and Buckingham, backed with the hardy Welshman, is in the field, and still his power increaseth. Ally with Richmond troubles me more near than Buckingham in the rash levied strength. Come, I have learned that fearful commenting is leaden servitude to delay. Delay leads an impotent snail-packed beggary, then fiery expedition be my wing. Jove's Mercury and herald for a king. Go muster men, my counsel is my shield. We must be brief when traitors brave the shield. Scene 4, the same, before the palace. So, now prosperity begins to mallow and drop into the rotten mouth of death. Here in these confines, silly have I lurked to watch the waning of mine enemies. A dire induction am I witness to, and will to France, hoping the consequence will prove as better, black and tragical. Withdraw thee, wretched Margaret. Who comes here? Ah, my poor princess. Ah, my tender babes, my unblown flowers, new appearing sweets, if yet your gentle slows fly in the air, and be not fixed in doom perpetual. Hover about me with your airy wings, and hear your mother's lamentation. Hover about her, say, that right for right hath dimmed your infant morn to age night. So many miseries have crazed my voice, that my woe-weary tongue is still in mute. Edward Plantagenet, why art thou dead? Plantagenet doth quit Plantagenet. Edward for Edward pays a dying debt. Wilt thou, O God, fly from such gentle lambs, and throw them in the entrails of the wolf? When didst thou sleep, when such a deed was done? When holy Harry died, and my sweet son. Dead life, blindside, poor mortal living ghost, whose seen, world's shame, graves due by life usurped. Brief abstract and record of tedious days, rest thy unrest on England's lawful earth. Unlawfully made drunk with innocent blood. Ah, that thou wouldest as soon afford a grave as thou canst yield a melancholy seat. Then would I hide my bones, not rest than here. Ah, who hath any cause to mourn but I? If ancient sorrow be most reverend, give mine the benefit of seniority, and let my griefs frown on the upper hand, if sorrow can admit society. Tell your woes again by viewing mine. I had an Edward, till a Richard killed him. I had a Harry till Richard killed him. Thou hadst an Edward till Richard killed him. Thou hadst a Richard till Richard killed him. I had a Richard too, and now didst kill him. I had a Rutland too. Thou hopst to kill him. Thou hadst Clarence too, and Richard killed him. From forth to the tent of our womb hath crept a hellhound that doth hunt us all to death. That dog that had his teeth before his eyes to wary lambs and lapped their gentle blood, that foul defacer of God's handiwork, that excellent grand tyrant of the earth, that reigns in gallant eyes of weeping souls, thy womb let loose, to chase us to our graves. Oi, upright, just, and true, disposing God, how do I thank thee, that this carnal cur preys on the issue of his mother's body, and makes her pew fellow with others moan. Oi, Harry's wife, triumph not in my woes. God witness with me, I have wept for thine. Bear with me, I am hungry for revenge, and I cloy me with beholding it. Thy Edward, he is dead, that killed my Edward. Thy other Edward dead to quit my Edward, young York, he is out but boot, because both they match not the high perfection of my loss. Thy Clarence, he is dead, that stabbed my Edward, and the beholders of this tragic play, the adulterate Hastings, Rivers, Vaughan, Grey, untimely, smothered in their dusky graves. Richard yet lives. Hell's black intelligencer only preserves their factor to buy souls and send them thither. But at hand, ensues his piteous and unpitied end. Earth gapes, hell burns, fiends roar, saints pray, to give him suddenly conveyed from hence. Cancel his bond of life, dear God, I pray, that I may live to say the dog is dead. Oi! Thou didst prophesy the time would come that I should wish for thee to help me curse. So that bottled spider, that foul, bunch-backed toad, I called thee then vain flourish of my fortune. I called thee then poor shadow, painted queen, the presentation of baccarat, the flattering index of a direful pageant, one heaved a high to be hurled down below, a mother only mocked with two fair babes, a dream of what thou wert, a breath, a bubble, a sign of dignity, a garish flag, to be the aim of every dangerous shot, a queen in jest only fill the scene. Where is thy husband now? Where be thy brothers? Where are thy children? Wherein dost thou joy? Who soothes and kneels and cries, God save the queen? Where be the bending peers that flattered thee? Where be the thronging troops that followed thee? Decline all this, and see what now thou art. For happy wife, a most distressed widow, for joyful mother, one that walls the name. For one being sued, to one that humbly sues. For queen, a very capeless, crowned with care. For one that scorned at me, now scorned of me. For one being feared of all, now fearing one. For one commanding all, obeyed of none. Thus hath the course of justice whirled about, and left these but a very prey to time, having no more but thought of what thou wert, to torture thee the more, being what thou art. Thou didst usurp my place, and dost thou not usurp the just proportion of my sorrow? Now thy proud neck beareth half my burden joke, from which even here I slip my wearied head, and leave the burden of it all on thee. Oh, farewell, York's wife, and the queen of sad mischance. These English woes shall make me smile in France. Oh, thou, well skilled in curses, stay a while, and teach me how to curse mine enemies. Forbear to sleep the night and fast the day. Compare dead happiness with living woe. Think that thy babes were fairer than they were, and he that slew them fouler than he is. Bettering thy loss makes the bad cause a worse. Revolving this will teach thee how to curse. My words are dull. Yeah. Quicken them with thine. Thy woes will make them sharp and pierce like mine. Why should calamity before the words? When the attorneys to their client woes, airy succeeders of interstate joys. Poor, breathing orators of miseries, let them have scope. Though what they do impart help nothing else, yet do they ease the heart? If so, then be not tongue-tied. Go with me. In the breath of bitter words, let's smother my damned son. That thy two sweet sons smothered, the trumpet sounds, be copious and exclaims. Who intercepts me in my expedition? Oh, she that might have intercepted thee by strangling thee in her accursed womb. From all the slaughters, wretch, that thou hast done, hadst thou that forehead with a golden crown, where should be branded, if that right were right, the slaughter of the prince that owed the crown, and the dire death of my poor sons and brothers. Tell me, thou villain slave, where are my children? Thou toad, where is thy brother Clarence, and little Ned Plantagenet, his son? Where is the gentle Rivers, Vaughan Grey? Where is kind Hastings? A flourish trumpets, strike alarum drums, let not the heavens hear these telltale women. Rail on the Lord's anointed, strike, I say! Either be patient and entreat me fair, or with a clamorous report of war, thus will I drown your exclamations. Art thou my son? Nay. Aye, I thank God, my father and yourself. Then patiently hear my impatience. Madam, I have a touch of your condition that cannot brook the accent of reproof. Oh, let me speak? Do then, but I'll not hear. I will be mild and gentle in my words, and brief, good mother, for I am in haste. Art thou so hasty? I have stayed for thee, God knows, in torment and in agony. And came I not at last to comfort you? No. By the holy rood, thou knowest well that camest on earth to make the earth by hell. A grievous burden was thy birth to me. Tetchy and wayward was the infancy. The school days frightful, desperate, wild, and fierce. The prime of manhood, daring, bold, and venturous. Thy age confirmed, proud, subtle, sly, and bloody. More mild, but yet more harmful. Kind in hatred. What comfortable hour canst thou name that ever graced me in thy company? Faith, none but Humphrey's hour, that called your grace to breakfast once forth of my company. If I be so disgracious in your eye, let me march on, and not defend you, madam. Strike up the drum. I prithee, hear me speak. You speak too bitterly. Hear me a word, for I shall never speak to thee again. So, either thou wilt die by God's just ordinance, ere from this war thou turn a conqueror, or I with grief and extreme age shall perish, and never look upon thy face again. Therefore take with thee my most grievous curse, which in the day of battle tire thee more than all the complete armor than thou wearest. My prayers on the adverse party fight, and there the little souls of Edward's children whisper the spirits of thine enemies, and promise them succeed and victory. Bloody thou art, bloody with thy end. Shame serves thy life, and thus thy death ascends. Though far more cause, yet much less spirit to curse. Abides in me, I say amen to her. No. Stay, madam, I must talk a word with you. I have no more sons of the royal blood, for these to slaughter. For my daughters, Richard, they shall be praying nuns, not weeping queens, and therefore leveled not to hid their lives. You have a daughter called Elizabeth, virtuous and fair, royal and gracious. And must she die for this? No, let her live, and I'll corrupt her manners, stain her beauty, slander myself as false to Edward's bed. Throw over her the veil of infamy, as she may live unscarred of bleeding slaughter. I will confess she was not Edward's daughter. Wrong not her birth. She is of royal blood.
Battle Royale.
To save her life, I'll say she is not so.
Gas is closing on your
Her life is safest only in her
Find
birth,
your way out of there.
and only in that safest died her brothers. Lo, at the birth good stars were opposite. No, to the lives ill friends were contrary. All unavoided is the doom of destiny. True, when avoided, grace makes destiny. Hansel and Gretel, my babes were destined to a fair death, as grace had blessed thee with a fair life. That's Hansel and Gretel. Ye speak as if that I had slain my cousins. Cousins indeed, and it's by their uncle cousin of comfort kingdom in kindred freedom life, whose hands soever lanced their tender hearts. Thy head all indirectly gave direction. No doubt the murderous knife was dull and blunt, till it was whetted on thy stone-hard heart, to revel in the entrails of my lambs. But that still use of grief makes wild grief tame. My tongue should to thy ears not name my boys, till that my nails were anchored in thy eyes, and I in such a desperate bay of death, like a poor bark, of sails and tackling reft, rush all to pieces on the rocky bosom. Madam, so thrive I in my enterprise, and I dangerous success of bloody wars, as I intend more good to you and yours than ever you or yours by me were harmed. What good is covered with the face of heaven to be discovered that can do me good? The advancement of your children, gentle lady, up to some scaffold there is to lose their heads. No, to the dignity and height of fortune, the high imperial type of this earth's glory. Flatter my sorrow with report of it. Tell me what state, what dignity, what honor canst thou demise of any child of mine? Even all I have, I and myself, and all will I withal endow a child of thine. So in the least of thy angry soul thou drown the sad remembrance of those wrongs which thou supposest I have done to thee. Be brief, lest that the process of thy kindness last longer telling than thy kindness date. Then know that from my soul I love thy daughter. My daughter's mother thinks it was her soul. What do you think? That thou dost love my daughter from my soul. So from my soul's love didst thou love her brothers, and from my heart's love I do thank thee for it. Be not too hasty to confound my meaning. I mean that with my soul I love thy daughter, and do intend to make her Queen of England. Well then, who dost thou mean shall be her king? Even he that makes her queen, who else shall be?
Your squad mate lost.
What thou?
They're RTB at this time.
Even so, what think you of it? How canst thou woo her?
Intel point captured. Great.
That I would learn of you as one being best acquainted with her humor. As wilt thou learn of me?
Squad's in the safe zone.
Madam,
You've got gas
with all my
coming in.
heart. Send to her by the man that slew her brothers, a pair of bleeding hearts thereon engrave Edward and York. Then haply will she weep, therefore present to her, as sometime Margaret did to thy father steeped in Rutland's blood, a handkerchief which, say to her, did drain the purple sap from her sweet brother's body, and bid her wipe her weeping eyes withal. If this inducement move her not to love, send her a letter of thy noble deeds. Tell her thou madest away her uncle Clarence, her uncle Rivers, aye, and for her sake, madest quick converence with her good Aunt Anne. You mock me, madam. This is not the way to win your daughter. There is no other way unless thou couldst put on some other shape, and not be Richard that hath done all this.
Friendly loadout drops on the way.
Say, that I did all this for love in her? Nay, then indeed she cannot choose but hate thee, having bought love with such a bloody spoil. Look, what is done cannot be now amended. Men shall deal unadvisedly sometimes, which after hours give leisure to repent. If I did take the kingdom from your sons, to make amends I'll give it to your daughter. Nay. If I have killed the issue of your womb, to quicken your increase, I will beget mine issue of your blood upon your daughter. A grandam's name is a little less in love than is the doing title of a mother.
Your squad mate
They are as
marked
children,
the
but
most
one
wanted
step below,
target.
even of your metal of your very blood, of all one pain, save for a night of groans, endured of her for whom you bid like sorrow. Your children were vexation to your youth, but mine shall be a comfort to your age. The loss you have is but a son being king, and by that loss your daughter is made queen. I cannot make you what amends I would, therefore accept such kindness as I can. Dorset your son, that with a fearful soul leads discontented steps as foreign soul. This fair alliance quickly shall call home to high premonitions and great dignity. The king that calls your beauteous daughter wife, familiarly shall call thy Dorset brother. Again shall you be mother to a king, and all the ruins of distressful times repaired with double riches of content. What, we have many goodly days to see? The liquid drops of tears that you have shed shall come again, transformed to orient pearl, advantaging their loan with interest of 10 times double gain of happiness. Go then, my mother, till I doth her go. Make bold her bashful years with your experience. Prepare her ears to hear a wooer's tale. Put in her tender heart the aspiring flame of golden sovereignty, acquainted the princess with the sweet silent hours of married love. And when this arm of mine hath chastised the pretty rebel, dull-brained Buckingham, bound with triumphant garland, will I come, and lead thy daughter to a conqueror's bed, to whom I will retail my conquest won. And she shall be so victress. What were I best to say it? Her father's brother would be her lord, or shall I say her uncle? Or he that slew her brother and her uncles? Under what title shall I won for thee, that God, the law, my honor, and her love can make seem pleasing to her tender ears? Infer fair England's peace by this alliance, which she shall purchase with still lasting war. Tell her, the king, that may command entreats, that at her hands which the king's king forbids, say, she shall be a high and mighty queen.
You've got a loadout drop inbound. You kept your squad mate alive.
To wail the title as her mother doth, say I will love her everlastingly. But how long shall that title ever last? Sweetly enforced unto her fair life's end. But how long fairly shall her sweet life last? As long as heaven and nature lengthens it. As long as hell and richer lights of it. Say, I, her sovereign, am her subject low. But she, your subject, loathes such sovereignty. Be eloquent in my behalf to her.
Enemy dropping into the AO.
An honest tale speeds best being plainly told. Then plainly to her tell my loving tale. Plain and not honest is too harsh a style. Your reasons are too shallow and too quick. Oh, no, my reasons are too deep and dead. Too deep and dead. Poor infants in their grave.
Reloading.
Harp not on that string. Madam, that is past. Harp on it still shall I till heartstrings break. Now by my George, my garter, and my crown, profane, dishonored, and the third usurped, I swear. By nothing, for this is no oath. That George profaned hath lost his holy honor. Thy garter blemished pawn his knightly virtue. Thy crown usurped, disgraced his kingly glory. If something thou wouldst swear to be believed, swear then by something that thou hast not wronged. Now, by the world, 'tis full of the foul wrongs. My father's death, thy life hath that dishonor, then by myself. Thyself is self-misused. Why then by God? God's wrong is most of all, if thou hadst feared to break an oath by him. The unity the king my husband made had not been broken, nor my brothers died, if thou hadst feared to break an oath by him. The imperial metal circling now thy head had graced the tender temples of my child. And brother, and both the princes had been breathing here, which now two tender bedfellows for dust, thy broken faith had made a prey for worms. What canst thou swear by now? The time to come that thou hast wronged in the time e'er past? For I myself have many tears to wash hereafter time for time past wronged by thee. The children live, whose parents thou hast slaughtered, ungoverned youth to wail it in their age. The parents live, whose children thou hast butchered, old barren plants to wail it with their age. Swear not by time to come, for that thou hast misused ere used, by times ill used ere past. As I intend to prosper and repent, so thrive I in my dangerous affairs of hostile arms. myself confound. Heaven and fortune bar me happy hours. Day, yield me not thy light, nor night thy rest. Be opposite all plans of good luck. To my proceeding, if with pure heart's love, immaculate devotion, holy thoughts, I tender not thy beauteous princely daughter. In her consists my happiness and thine. Without her falls to myself, and these herself the land, and me a Christian soul. Death, desolation, ruin, and decay. It cannot be avoided, but this. It will not be avoided, but by this. Therefore, dear mother, I must call you so, by the attorney of my love to her. Plead what I will be, not what I have been. Not my deserts, but what I will deserve. Urge the necessity and state of times, and be not peevish fond in great designs. Shall I be tempted of the devils thus? Aye, if the devil tempt thee to do good, shall I forget myself to be myself? Aye, if your self-remembrance wrong yourself. Thou didst kill my children, but in your daughter's womb I bury them, where in that nest of spicery they shall breed selves of themselves to your recomforture. Shall I go with my daughter to thy will, and be a happy mother by the deed? I go. Write to me very shortly, and you shall understand me. Her mind. Bear her my true love's kiss, and so farewell. Relenting full, and shallow changing woman. How now, what news?
Gas is closing in.
Most mightily sovereign, on the western coast rideth the puissant navy to the shores. Throng many doubtful, hollow-hearted friends, unarmed and unresolved to beat them back. 'Tis thought that Richmond is their admiral, and there they hole, expecting but the aid of Birkenham to welcome them ashore. Some Lightfoot friend posts to the Duke of Norfolk. Ratcliffe, thyself, or Catesby, where is she? Here, my good lord. Catesby, fly to the Duke. I will, my lord, with all convenient haste. Ratcliffe, come hither, post to Salisbury. When thou comest thither, dull, unminded villain, why stayest thou here, and goest not to the Duke? First, mighty liege, tell me your highness' pleasure. What frame of grace I shall deliver to him? Oi, true good Catesby, bid him levy straight the greatest strength and power he can make, and meet me suddenly at Salisbury. I go. What may it please you shall I do at Salisbury? Why, what wouldst thou do there before I go? Your highness told me I should post before. My mind is changed. Stanley, what news with you? None good, my liege, to please you with the hearing, nor none so bad but well may be reported. Hoy day, a riddle! Neither good nor bad, what needst thou run so many miles about, when thou mayest tell thy tale the nearest way? Once more, what news? Richmond's on the seas. There let him sink, and be the seas on him. White-livered runagate, what doth he there? I know not, mighty sovereign, but my guess. Well, as you guess? Stirred up for Dorset, Buckingham and Morton. He makes for England here to claim the crown. Is the chair empty? Is the sword unswayed? Is the king dead? The empire unpossessed? What heir of York is there alive but we? And who is England's king but great York, heir? Then tell me, what makes he upon the seas? Unless for that, my liege, I cannot guess. Unless for that he comes to be your liege, you cannot guess wherefore the wishman comes. Thou wilt revolt and fly to him, I fear. No, my good lord, therefore mistrusts me not. Where is thy power then to best him back? Where be thy tenants and thy followers? Are they not now upon the western shore, safe conducting the rebels from their ships? No, my good lord, my friends are in the north. Cold friends to me, what do they in the north, when they should serve their sovereign in the west? They have not been commanded, mighty king. Pleases your majesty to give me leave? I'll muster up my friends, and meet your grace, where and what time your majesty shall please. Aye, thou wouldst be gone to join with Richmond, but I'll not trust thee. Most mighty sovereign, you have no cause to hold my friendship doubtful. I never was, nor never will be false.
Get moving.
Go then and muster men, but leave behind your son, George Stanley. Look your heart, be firm, or else his head's assurance is but frail. So deal with him as I prove true to you.
Gas is closing in. Relocating safe zone.
My gracious sovereign,
Launch a UAV.
now in Devonshire, as I by friends am well advertised, Sir Edward Courtner, and the haughty prelate, Bishop of Exeter, his brother there, with many more confederates, are in arms. In Kent, my liege, the Guildfords are in arms, and every hour more competitors flock to the rebels, and their power grows strong. My lord, the army of great Buckingham, out on ye owls, nothing but songs of death. There take thou that, till thou bring better news. The news I have to tell your majesty is that by sudden floods and fall of waters, Buckingham's army is dispersed and scattered, and he himself wandered away alone, no man knows whither. I cry thee mercy. There is my purse, so to cure that blow of thine, hath any well-advised friend proclaimed reward to him that brings the traitor in? Such proclamation hath been made, my liege. Sir Thomas Lavelle and Lord Marquis Dorset, 'tis said, my liege, in Yorkshire are in arms, but this good comfort brings I to your highness. The Breton navy is dispersed by tempest. Richmond in Yorkshire sent out a boat, and to the shore to ask those on the banks if they were his assistants, yea or no, who answered him they came from Buckingham. Upon his party he mistrusting them, hoist sail and made away for Brittany. March on, since we are up in arms, if not to fight with foreign enemies, yet to beat down these rebels here at home. My liege, the Duke of Buckingham is taken. That is the best news. That the Earl of Richmond is with a mighty power landed at Milford is colder news, but yet they must be told. Away towards Salisbury. While we reason here, a royal battery might be won and lost. Someone take order of Buckingham, he brought to Salisbury, the rest march on with me. Scene 5, the same, a room in Lord Stanley's house. Sir Christopher, tell Richmond this from me, that in the side of this most bloody bore, my son George Stanley is franked up and whole. If I revolt, off goes young George's head. The fear of that holds off my present aid. So, get thee gone. Commend me to thy lord. Withal say that the queen hath heartily consented. He should espouse Elizabeth her daughter, but tell me, where is princely Richmond now? At Pembroke, or at Hertford West in Wales? What men of name resort to him? Sir Walter Herbert is renowned soldier. Sir Gilbert Talbot, Sir William Stanley, Oxford redoubted, Pembroke, Sir James Blunt, and Rice up Thomas, with a valiant crew, and many other of great name and worth, and towards London do they bend their power, if by the way they do not fought withal. Well, his thee to thy lord, I kiss the hand. My letter will resolve him on my mind. Farewell. All right, Act 5, Richard III. Scene 1, Salisbury, an open place. Will not King Richard let me speak with him? No, my good lord, therefore he be patient. Hastings and Edward's children, Grey and Rivers, holy King Henry, and thy fair son Edward, Vaughan, and all that have miscarried by underhand corrupted foul injustice, if that your moody, discontented souls do through the clouds behold this present hour, even for revenge mock my destruction. This is All Souls' Day, fellows, is it not? It is, my lord. Why, then All Souls' Day is my body's doomsday. This is the day that in King Edward's time I wished might fall on me, when I was found false to his children or his wife's allies. This is the day wherein I wish to fall by the false faith of him whose most I trusted. This All Souls' Day to my fearful soul is a determined respite to my wrongs, that high all-seer which I dallied with hath turned my feigned prayer on my head, Julius Caesar, and given in earnest what I begged in jest. Thus doth he force the swords of wicked men to turn their own points on their masters' bosoms. Thus Margaret's curse falls heavy on my neck, when he, quoth she, shall split thy heart with sorrow. Remember Margaret with this prophetess. Come lead me, officers, to the block of shame. Wrong hath but wrong, and blame the due of blame. Scene 2, a plain near Tamworth. Fellows in arms, and my most loving friends, bruised underneath the yoke of tyranny, thus far into the bowels of the land have we marched on without impediment. And here receive we from our father Stanley lines of fair comfort and encouragement. The wretched, bloody, and usurping boar that spoiled your summer field and fruitful vines, swills your warm blood like wash, and makes his trough in your emboweled bosoms, this foul swine is now even in the center of this isle, near to the town of Leicester, as we learn. From Tamworth thither is but one day's march. In God's name cheerly on, courageous friends, to reap the harvest of perpetual peace by this one bloody trial of sharp war. Every man's conscience is 1,000 men to fight against this guilty homicide. I doubt not but this friends will turn to us. He hath no friends but what are friends for fear, which in his dearest need will fly from him. All for our vantage, then in God's name march. True hope is swift, and flies with swallows' wings. Kings it makes gods, and meaner creatures kings. Scene 3, Bosworth Field. Here pitch our tent, even here in Bosworth Field. My lord of Surrey, why look you so sad? My heart is 10 times lighter than my looks. My lord of Norfolk, here most gracious liege. Norfolk, we must have knocks, ha, must we not? We must both give and take, my loving lord. Up with my tent, here will I lie tonight. But where tomorrow? Well, all's one for that. Who hath descried the number of the traitors? 6 or 7,000 is their utmost power. Why, our battalia trebles that account, besides the king's name is the tower of strength, which they upon the adverse faction want. Up with the tent. Come, noble gentlemen, let us survey the vantage of the ground. Call for some men of sound direction. Let's lack no discipline, make no delay. For, lords, tomorrow is a busy day. The weary sun hath made a golden set, and by that bright track of his fiery car gives token of a goodly day tomorrow. Sir William Brandon, you shall bear my standard. Give me some ink and paper in my tent. I'll draw the form and motto of our battle, limit each leader to a several charge, and part in just proportion our small power. My lord of Oxford, you, Sir William Brandon, and you, Sir Walter Herbert, stay with me. The Earl of Pembroke keeps his regiment. Good Chaplain Blunt, bear my good night to him, and by the 2nd hour in the morning, desire the Earl to see me in my tent. Now, Yet one thing more, good captain, do for me. Where is Lord Stanley Courter, do you know? Unless I have mistaken his colors much, which well I am assured I have not done. His regiment lies half a mile at least, south from the mighty power of the king. If without peril it be possible, good Captain Blunt, bear my good night to him, and give him from me this most needful note. Upon my life, my lord, I will undertake it, and so God give you quiet rest tonight. Good night, good Captain Blunt. Come, gentlemen, let's us consult upon tomorrow's business. To my tent, the air is raw and cold. What is the clock? It's supper time, my lord. It's 9 o'clock. I will not sup tonight. Give me some ink and paper. What is my beaver easier than it was, and all my armor laid into my tent? It is, my liege, and all things are in readiness. Good Norfolk, hie thee to thy charge. Use careful watch. Choose trusty sentinels. I go, my lord. Stir with the lark tomorrow, gentle Norfolk. I warrant you, my lord. Ratcliffe, my lord, send out a pursuivant at arms to Stanley's regiment. Bid him bring his power before sun rising, lest the sun George fall into the blind cave of eternal night. Fill me a bowl of wine. Give me a watch. Saddle. White Surrey for the field tomorrow. Look that my staves be sound and not too heavy. Ratcliffe. My lord, sawest thou the melancholy lord Northumberland? Thomas the Earl of Surrey and himself, much about cock-shut time from the troop to troop, went through the army cheering up the soldiers. So, I am satisfied. Give me a bowl of wine. I have not the alacrity of spirit, nor cheer of mind that I was wont to have. Set it down. Is ink and paper ready? It is, my lord. Bid my guard watch. Leave me. Ratcliffe, about the mid of night, come to my tent and help to arm me. Leave me, I say. Fortune and victory sit on thy helm. All comfort that the dark night can afford be to thy person, noble father-in-law. Tell me, how fares our loving mother? I, by attorney, bless thee from thy mother, who prays continually for Richmond's good. So much for that. Silent hours steal on, and flaky darkness breaks within the east. In brief, for so the season bids us be, prepare thy battle early in the morning, and put thy fortune to the arbitrament of bloody strokes and mortal staring war. I, as I may, that which I would I cannot, with best advantage will deceive the time, and aid thee in this doubtful shock of arms. But on thy side I may not be too forward, lest being seen thy brother tender George be executed in his father's sight. Farewell. The leisure and the fearful time cuts off the ceremonious vows of love and ample interchange of sweet discourse, which so long sundered friends should dwell upon. God give us leisure for these rites of love. Once more adieu. Be valiant and speed well. Good lords, conduct him to his regiment. I'll strive with troubled thoughts to take a nap, lest leaden slumber pease me down tomorrow, when I should mount with wings of victory. Once more, good night, kind lords and gentlemen. O thou whose captain I account myself, look on my forces with a gracious eye. Put in their hands thy bruising irons of wrath, that they may crush down with a heavy fall the usurping helmets of our adversaries. Make us thy ministers of chastisement, that we may praise thee in thy victory. For thee I do commend my watchful soul, ere I let fall the windows of mine eyes. sleeping and walking. Oh, defend me still. Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow. Think how thou stabbedst me in my prime of youth at Tewkesbury. Despair, therefore, and die. Be cheerful, Richmond, for the wrongful souls of butchered princes fight in thy behalf. King Henry's issue, Richmond comforts thee. When I was mortal, my anointed body by thee was punched full of deadly holes. Think on the tower and me, despair, and die. Henry VI bids thee despair and die. Virtuous and holy be thou conqueror. Harry, that prophesied thou shouldst be the king, does comfort thee in thy sleep. Live thou and flourish. Let me sit heavy on my soul tomorrow. I that was washed to death with fulsome wine, poor Clarence, by thy guile betrayed to death. Tomorrow in the battle think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword. Despair and die. Thou offspring of the house of Lancaster, the wrong heirs of York do pray for thee. Good angels guard thy battle, live and flourish. Let me sit heavy on thy soul tomorrow. Rivers that died at Pomfret, despair and die. Think upon Grey, and let thy soul despair. Think upon Vaughan, and with guilty fear let fall thy pointless lance, despair and die. Awake, and think our wrongs in Richard's bosom will conquer him. Awake and win the day. Bloody and guilty, guiltily awake, and in a bloody battle end thy days. Think on, Lord Hastings, so despair and die. Quiet, untroubled soul, awake, awake, arm, fight, and conquer, for fair England's sake. Dream on thy cousin smothered in the tower, let us be led within the bosom, Richard, and weigh thee down to ruin, shame, and death. Thy nephew's souls bid thee despair and die. Sleep, Richmond, sleep, in peace, and wake in joy. Good angels guard thee from the boar's annoy. Live and beget a happy race of kings. Edward's unhappy sons do bid thee flourish. Richard, thy wife, that wretched Anne, thy wife, that never slept a quiet hour with thee, now fills thy sleep with perturbations. Tomorrow in the battle think on me, and fall thy edgeless sword. Despair and die. Thou quiet soul, sleep thou quiet sleep, dream of success and happy victory. Thy adversary's wife doth pray for thee. The first was I that helped thee to the crown. The last was I that felt the tyranny, and oi in the battle think on Buckingham, and die in terror of thy guiltiness. Dream on, of bloody deeds and death, fainting, despair, despair, and yield and breath. I died for hope ere I could lend thee aid, but cheer thy heart, and be thou not dismayed. God and good angels fight on Richmond's side, and Richard falls in height of all his pride. Give me another horse, bind up my wounds, have mercy, Dessous. Soft, I did but dream. O coward conscience, how dost thou afflict me? The lights burn blue. It is now dead midnight. Cold, fearful drops stand on my trembling flesh. What, do I fear myself? There's none else by. Richard loves Richard, that is, I am I. Is there a murderer here? No. Yes, I am. Then fly. What, for myself? Great reason. Why? Lest I revenge. What, myself upon myself? Alack, I love myself. Wherefore, for any good that I myself have done unto myself. No, no, alas, I rather hate myself for hateful deeds committed by myself. I am a villain, yet I lie, I am not. Fool of thyself, speak well. Fool, do not flatter. My conscience hath 1,000 several tongues, and every tongue brings in a several tale, and every tale condemns me for a villain. Perjury, perjury, in the highest degree. Murder, stern murder, in the dearest degree. All several sins, all youth in each degree. Throng to the bar, crying all, guilty, guilty. I shall despair. There is no creature loves me, and if I die, no soul will pity me. Nay, wherefore should they, since that I myself find in myself no pity to myself? Methought the souls of all that I had murdered came to my tent, and every one did threat tomorrow's vengeance on the head of Richard. My lord! Zounds, who's there? Ratcliffe, my lord, 'tis I, the early village cock, hath twice done salutation to the morn. Your friends are up and buckle on their armor. Oi, Ratcliffe! I have dreamed a fearful dream, winkest thou. Will our friends prove all true? No doubt, my lord. Oi, Ratcliffe, I fear. Nay, good, my lord, be not afraid of shadows. By the Apostle Paul, shadows tonight have struck more terror to the soul of Richard than can the substance of 10,000 soldiers, armed and proof, and led by shallow Richmond. It is not yet near day. Come, go with me. Under our tents I'll play the eavesdropper, to hear if any mean to shrink from. Good morrow, Richmond. Cry mercy, lords and watchful gentlemen, that you have ta'en and tardy sluggard here. How have you slept, my lord? The sweetest sleep, the fairest boding dreams that ever entered in a drowsy head, have I since your departure had, my lords. Methought their souls, whose bodies Richard murdered, came to my tent and cried on victory. I promise you my heart is very jocund in the remembrance of so fair a dream. How far into the morning is it, lord? Upon the stroke of 4. Why, then 'tis time to arm and give direction. More than I have said, loving countrymen, the leisure and enforcement of the time forbids to dwell on. Yet remember this, God and our good cause fight upon our side. The prayers of holy saints and wronged souls, like high-reared bulwarks, stand before our faces. Richard, except those who we fight against, had rather have us win than him. They follow. For what is he that follow? Truly, gentlemen, a bloody tyrant and a homicide. One raised in blood and one in a blood established. One that made means to come by what he hath, and slaughtered those that were the means to help him. A base foul stone, made precious by the foil of England's chair where he is faultlessly set. One that hath ever been God's enemy. Then if you fight against God's enemy, God will in justice ward you as his soldiers if you do sweat to put a tyrant down. You sleep in peace, the tyrant being slain. If you do fight against your country's foes, your country's fat shall pay your pains the higher. If you do fight in safeguard of your wives shall welcome home the conquerors. If you do free your children from the sword, your children's children quit in your age. Then, in the name of God and all these rights, advance your standards, draw your willing swords. For me, the ransom of my bold attempt shall be this cold course on the earth's cold face. But if I thrive, the gain of my attempt, the least of you shall share his part thereof. Sound drums and trumpets boldly and cheerfully. God and St. George, Richmond and victory. What said Northumberland as touching Richmond? That he was never trained up in arms. He said the truth. And what said Shorey then? He smiled and said the better for our purpose. He was I the right, and so indeed it is. To the clock there, give me a calendar. Who saw the sun today? Not I, my lord. Then he disdains to shine, for by the book he should have braved the east an hour ago. A black day will it be to somebody. Ratcliffe, my lord, the sun will not be seen today. The sky doth frown and lower upon our army. I would these dewy tears were from the ground, not shine today. Why, what is that to me more than to Richmond, for the self-same heaven that frowns on me looks sadly upon him. Arm, arm, my lord, the foe vaunts in the field. Come, bustle, bustle, comparison my horse. Call up Lord Stanley, bid him bring his power. I will lead forth my soldiers to the plain, and thus my battle shall be ordered. My forward shall be drawn out all in length, consisting equally of horse and foot. Our archers shall be placed in the midst. John Duke of Norfolk, Thomas Earl of Surrey, shall have the leading of this foot and horse. They thus directed we will follow, in the main battle whose puissance on either side shall be well winged with our chiefest horse. This and St. George, to boot, What thinkest thou, Norfolk? A good direction, warlike sovereign. This found I on my tent this morning. Jockey of Norfolk, be not too bold, for Dickon thy master is bought and sold. A thing devised by the enemy? Go, gentlemen, every man to his charge. Let not your babbling dreams affright our souls. Conscience is but a word that cowards use. Devised at first to keep the strong in awe, our strong arms be our conscience, sword, our law. March on, join bravely, let us toot pell-mell. If not to heaven, then hand in hand to hell. What shall I say more than I have inferred? Remember whom you are to cope withal. A sort of vagabond, rascals and runaways, a scum of Bretons and base lackey peasants, whom they o'er cloyed country vomits forth to desperate adventures and assured destruction. You sleeping safe, they bring you to unrest. You having lands and blessed with beauteous wives, they would restrain the one, disdain the other, and who doth lead them but a paltry fellow, long kept in Britain at our mother's cost. A milksop, one that never in his life felt so much cold as ever one's shoes in snow. Let's whip these stragglers o'er the sea again, lash hence these overweening rags of France, these famished beggars, weary of their lives, whom but for dreaming on this fawn exploit, for want of means, poor rats had hanged themselves. If we be conquered, let men conquer us, and not these bastard Bretons, whom our fathers have in their own land beaten, bobbed and thumped, and on record left them the heirs of shame. Shall these enjoy our lands, lie with our wives, ravish our daughters? Hark, I hear their drum. Fight, gentlemen of England, fight, bold yeomen. Draw archers, draw your arrows to the head, spur your proud horses hard and ride in blood. Amaze the welkin with your broken stave. What says Lord Stanley? Will he bring his power? My lord, he doth deny to come. Off with his son George's head. My lord, the enemy is past the marsh. After the battle let George Stanley die. 1,000 hearts are great within my bosom. Advance our standard, set upon our foes. Our ancient word of courage, fair St. George inspires us with the spleen of fiery dragons. Upon them, victory sits upon our realms. Scene 4, another part of the field. Rescue! My lord of Norfolk, rescue, rescue. The king enacts more wonders than a man, daring and opposite to every danger. His horse is slain, and all on foot he fights, seeking for Richmond in the throat of death. Rescue, fair lord, or else the day is lost. A horse, my kingdom for a horse. Withdraw, my lord, I'll help you to a horse. Slave! I have set my life upon a cast, and I will stand the hazard of the die. I think there be 6 Richmonds in the field. 5 have I slain today instead of him. A horse, my kingdom for a horse. God in your arms be praised, victorious friends. The day is ours, the bloody dog is dead. Courageous Richmond, well hast thou acquitted thee. Lo, here, this long usurped royalty from the dead temples of this bloody wretch have I plucked off to grace thy brows withal, where enjoy it, and make much of it. Great God of heaven, say amen to all. But tell me, is young George Stanley living? He is my lord, and safe as Lancaster town, whither, if you please, we may withdraw us. What men of name are slain on either side? John Duke of Norfolk, Walter Lord Ferrers, Sir Robert Brakenbury, and Sir William Brandon enter their bodies, as becomes a verse. A pardon to the soldiers fled, nay, that in submission will return to us. And then, as we brave ta'en the sacrament, we will unite the white rose and the red smile, heaven upon his fair conjunction. Nay, that long hath frowned upon their enmity. What traitor hears me, and says not amen? England hath long been mad, and scarred herself. The brother blindly shed the brother's blood. The father rashly slaughtered his own son. The son, compelled, been butchered to his sire. All this divided York and Lancaster, divided in their dire division. Now, Let Richmond and Elizabeth, the true succeeders of each royal house, by God's fair ordinance, conjoin together. And let their heirs, God, if thy will be so, enrich the time to come with smooth-faced peace, with smile and plenty and fair prosperous days. Abate the edge of traitors, gracious Lord, that would reduce these bloody days again, and make poor England weep in streams of blood. Let them not live to taste the land's increase, that would with treason wound this fair land's peace. Now civil wounds are stopped, peace lives again, that she may long live here. God say amen. Amen.